You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Welcome, one and all, to our podcast, Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, episode 120. My name is Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Hey, how'd you do that without counting down? I don't know.
It's magic. Podcast magic.
Well, okay, so a funny thing happened on the way to the grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually at the grocery store.
All right.
And, Jordan met a lady.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah. Jordan did meet a lady. Justin, have you heard? Justin Lowe is back with us again this week. Have you heard?
Hi,
have you heard about the lady?
I have not heard about the lady. I'm going to need to know about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember the story. But
he was in line at Kroger to check out, and apparently there was a very attractive lady in front of Jordan in line.
Yeah, and she had a huge stack of Lunchables.
A whole container. She had a whole container of Lunchables that
she was fighting with the
cashier
person that they better ring up as on sale for $1.
Was she sick and like preparing her bunker for the coming apocalypse?
Yeah, he had the same thing, I think.
Yeah,
they both had the same problem.
Their eyes met.
Right. And
yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So he found his soulmate, and they ran away together, I believe.
Yeah, that's why he's not here this week.
So
they're off to the Mothman.
Yes, and
for anybody and listeners that aren't in the Mid Ohio Valley, they probably have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Mothman Festival happens every year in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's a big one of those Bigfoot things he does. And he's not here, so I can say that.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. He'll give us the whole breakdown when he gets back, but basically he went up there to show some of his comic books, So-Pro stuff.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Hopefully it's super successful, and we will hear all about it. But anyway, the point is, I told him my crutch wasn't going to be here. I like to just say whatever I'm going to say, and then usually he
pipes in.
He pipes up and has way more to say about it and says it better, and I just get to step back and think, what am I going to say next?
Yeah. I was excited for him, though, when he told me, it was a very un-Jordan thing, to hear from him that, he met his soulmate in the line at Kroger. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm assuming if she was that pretty, it's probably somebody that I met a number of years ago first, and then passed off to him.
Right.
So.
Yes.
We have to assume as much. Yeah. So
we expect lots of commentary like that throughout the episode.
Big shoes to fill.
So in his honor, we're going to do a lot of talk about Coen Brothers, Shakira, Garrett Dillahunt, Dennis Haysbert, Bendis, Nessie, Mothra. Is Philadelphia really sunny? We're into all of his favorite topics.
So what are we doing this week?
What are we? Movies.
Movies.
Save Martha! Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod! On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
Okay, I just want to say that ever since last week's episode, when we play that movie bumper and it has that Save Martha line, and somebody, I don't remember who, somebody ripped off the Save Mothra thing at the end of the credits. I suck it in. That's all I hear now.
Good. That's my goal.
That's all I hear.
So let's just start. Justin, you said you watched a bunch of trailers. So what caught your attention?
It's been some weird stuff. A lot of what I was able to find were bad news about movies, which I think is always a good place to start. I found doing some research trying to figure out exactly what to talk about here because I know I got big Jordan shoes to fill. And the first couple of things I saw were just bad news. The first one I saw, everybody knows they're making a Top Gun 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're they're either rebooting or making sequels to, I think, everything that has ever been made ever. And they announced the other day that the Top Gun 2 has been delayed until at least 2020. And, as far as movies go, that's generally not a good sign when you bump it 2 years, especially a movie that's probably not going to be that reliant on animation or CGI or anything like that. I mean, this is, dudes flying planes.
Right, and Tom Cruise doesn't use CGI, so...
Exactly. I think they probably are delaying it so he can go out and learn how to pilot an F-14 or whatever it is he's flying.
He's gonna be flying real combat missions, I heard.
I think so. So he's going to do it like, what was it? He jumped out of the plane every night for 150 nights in a row or something. So he's going to go fly a plane 150 days in a row. That won't get expensive. The other bad rumor I heard was about Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously there has been a bit of a kerfuffle with the director. He is no longer the director. And nobody really knows what's going to happen. So Guardians 3 is on hold for right now, and nobody really knows. It will come back because let's face it, that Guardians franchise is printing money for Disney. So there's going to be a third Guardians movie. I just don't think anybody knows when it's going to happen or what it's really going to look like.
Yeah, I'm kind of impressed by some... Like Dave Bautista, like putting his foot down, and they've got some, they can help make these decisions, and if they don't want to be in it, it's going to be a struggle to get it going. I thought, first thing I thought when I heard that news was you guys probably weren't going to be too happy because that's going to affect some Disney stuff as far as like their rides. They have all this Guardians of the Galaxy rides, a roller coaster and stuff, and I know the last time they filmed. They took time during the filming schedule to film segments for the rides, and if they don't do that, where are you going to get your footage for a roller coaster?
Yeah, it's you got me.
I expected an uproar in here.
No, I mean they're built right now. They're constructing it at Epcot. They're constructing this huge, gigantic building structure to house this indoor roller coaster. That, I don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen at this point. So,
yeah, I gotta believe that they may have hopefully planned a little bit ahead and can either they've already done it because they knew they were going to have the folks all there 2 years ago when they were filming part 2, or they can cobble together some stuff. It's going to be a little bit different. I don't think the roller coaster is going to need as much in-depth, lengthy footage as the old Tower of Terror does out at Disneyland, which is now the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission
Breakout.
Yeah, Mission Breakout. There's some lengthy scenes in there with each of the characters. So obviously they would have had to have done that when they had them all together. Can the actors kind of hold that over Disney's head? To get Gunn back in the director's chair. I'm not sure how that's all going to play out. It's kind of a weird time we live in. So,
well, have you guys been watching any movies? Crickets. I did. I watched the movies.
I'm glad you did.
Yay!
I watched a movie called First Reformed with Ethan Hawke, and it's directed and written by Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, and it is very Taxi Driver. It's about this priest. Ethan Hawke plays a priest in a small congregation in upstate New York, and he grapples with mounting despair brought on by tragedy and a tormented past. It's got Amanda Siegfried in it, but it's really strange. It's pretty strange. It has a really strange ending that will be some people like, some people don't. But I really enjoyed the movie. It was kind of crazy, but he was just like, basically the church he is running is one of the oldest churches, you know, from around the pre-Revolutionary War, and it's more of it's just such a small congregation because it's more of just a historical landmark. You know, very few people actually go there, but they give a lot of tours and things, and he's kind of an alcoholic, and he's trying to deal with some of his parishioners, and one of the parishioners' husband is really struggling with what's happening to the earth, you know, global warming and all that, and like he's trying to help the guy stay positive. It's hard to explain, you know, how the movie changes, but he becomes very caught up in what's going on, and like I said, it has a Taxi Driver feel. So enough about First Reformed, because we get cut off. It didn't matter anyway. So let's go on. The next movie I saw was Summer of '84, set in 1984. It's like a slasher feeling movie, but creepy. Somebody's taking kids, and somebody in your neighborhood, in your very own neighborhood, could be a killer. It stars our friend of the pod, Rich Sommer.
I feel like I've heard about this before.
I feel like I just talked about this recently. Anyway, it was very predictable. Like I said, I was talking to my son as we watched it and predicting everything as it happened, but we enjoyed it, and the ending is kind of crazy and not predictable. So that was worth seeing, actually. But the movie I liked the most, in the last month, was Searching with John Cho, and it was from a first-time director, and it was set all on screen, on computer screens and phone screens. It's a real clever, way of showing how you would try to find somebody if, and like the phone calls they had, they would use FaceTime on there, and they'd have it up there while they're using a computer. So.
Did you ever see that episode of Modern Family from a few years ago?
I remember them doing stuff like
that. They did something similar. Yeah. It was all, of course, it was all like Apple product, but they were going from like, they were going from iChat or whatever they use, iPads and on the Mac and iPhone chat or.
I really enjoyed this, and while it's like he's working with investigators there, I liked when they're doing what you would do, like they're not doing dumb things. They're doing it before you think of it. When the characters are super smart, I enjoy that. He was like, okay, that is a neat way to try to find something out if you're looking for, his daughter's missing, you find out very, very early in the movie. So that's who he's searching for, and just all the clever ways they go about it. And there's so many things, like it would pay off, to watch again. I can't wait to see it again when it comes out to rent, just because there's so many things going on the screen that you see. I would catch different things like, oh, that was a clue, to what was going to happen. Anyway, really, really good movie, innovative movie. I'm looking forward to watching it again, and definitely think it'll be in my top 10 of the year.
Ooh,
yeah. I've always really liked John Cho. I said, he's been the saving grace in a lot of really terrible things. He was in a
show.
He was in a sitcom a couple of years ago called Selfie. It was basically just a blatant My Fair Lady ripoff, to the point where his character name was Henry Higgs, and it had Karen Gillan in it, who's been in a number of other things, and her name was Eliza Dooley. And, Henry Higgs was trying to teach her the ways of, how to be a grown-up in an office. Best part about that one is it had David Harewood in it, who went on to play John Jones in Supergirl. So,
cool. So you guys officially haven't watched any movies? Is that the
I was all set. I was leaving the house one Sunday when Michelle was at work, and I was gonna go watch Happy Time Murders, and instead I just sat on the couch and watched football all day. So I felt really bad.
From what I hear, you did all right.
Yeah, I've heard it got pretty bad reviews. But, that whole genre of weird adult puppet movie, like I loved Meet the Feebles, that Peter Jackson movie from 20 years ago. I like those sorts of things. So, but
I love the idea of that. Like, it seems like a Roger Rabbit type idea, only, of course they're going dirty, but it could be so good. It just seemed, the reviews I heard were people agreeing with us, like that should be good, but they didn't execute it right.
Yeah, I was definitely I was planning on showing up to be disappointed, but with popcorn.
Right.
So
I do that
With
all
popcorn.
the time.
You hear that?
I show up most places prepared to be disappointed. So there's no reason to hang around here in movies. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Let's do a one job.
One job forever?
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
You tossers! You had one job to do!
Okay.
So,
big news this week.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We had a death. Was Burt Reynolds died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last week I think it was.
Yeah,
he's up there. I don't remember how old he was. In his
82.
80s. Well,
yeah, I was going to say he was in his 80s. So,
but he was still working. He had a heart attack on set of whatever it was that he was filming.
Man.
So he was still working, at 82 as Burt Reynolds. So.
Yeah,
I knew he's got one coming out. He did a film. I don't think it's been released with Ariel Winter from Modern Family.
Okay.
I want to say recently.
Okay, well, there was a movie, it's the last something I know he did within this past year that I think is streaming right now. But he's had
oh my gosh, yeah.
many iconic movies. We thought, well, this is a great time to take care of this. Justin mentioned his name. That's all we need. But do you guys have any? Well, let's just go through the list.
Yeah, I was
here.
say, read a few off.
First up, he's like, he was the biggest box office draw in the late '70s. Male, like it's just a fact, and it starting. He goes all the way back to like Gunsmoke, if I recall. So let's look him up here. Oh man, Burt Reynolds.
Right off the top of my head, the Longest Yard.
Yeah,
gosh. Later on, yeah. Remember he played the old, the creepy guy in Striptease?
Yep.
With Demi Moore.
Cop and a Half.
How could we forget Cop and a Half?
Hooper. The Cannonball Run movies. Of course, Smokey and the Bandit. Mm-hmm. Navajo Joe. The Last Movie Star is the one from the past year that I saw. The Longest Yard.
He was in both versions.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
You are correct.
He did singing and dancing in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
True.
Oh,
true.
yeah.
With Dolly Parton, correct? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The biggest ones, that stick out to me are Deliverance and Boogie Nights. He won a Golden Globe for Boogie Nights. Was up for Best Supporting Actor.
That's one
for
of
the Oscars.
Yeah, that's one of Jordan. That would probably be Jordan's pick.
I have Jordan's pick.
Oh,
yes.
Wow! Okay,
I came prepared with that. So.
Awesome.
So yeah, but I'm curious what you guys think. He when he took Deliverance, like I like Deliverance. I've seen it 2 or 3 times in my life. It always creeps me out, of course. But like that role was turned down by some big stars: Henry Fonda, Jimmy Stewart, Marlon Brando, and he took it. Of course, he turned down roles like he felt like an idiot, but like he was supposed to be Michael Corleone in The Godfather, and he turned it down. He turned it down and did Deliverance.
Huh. Wow.
And they asked him why he did that, and he said, "Because I'm stupid."
Yeah.
Wasn't he in the final couple of folks up for the role of Han Solo as well?
Oh, I believe that. That makes a lot of sense. Just
that
era. He was the biggest.
Period.
Like I said, he was the biggest box office draw at the time. So
yeah,
I totally believe that.
I have to do some justice here to my wife, because immediately when we heard this news the other day, the one thing we did think about was the old SNL Celebrity Jeopardy clips.
Yeah,
when
Turd Ferguson.
Turd Ferguson.
Funny name.
One of my favorites. Even though it wasn't really him,
right.
It was just
might as well have been.
Yeah. I will associate him with that now.
Oh yeah.
And finally, back again, Burt Reynolds in a commanding lead with $14.
Hey, check out the podium. Look at this.
Mr. Reynolds has apparently changed his name to Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, that's right. Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Great. Let's take a look at the final.
It's a big hat. Yeah. It's funny because it's a big hat. But he, I mean, he's never one of my favorites, but he's an iconic film star.
Yeah,
known for his, laugh and being like the fun guy in those movies, and I was just curious if either of you guys are like big Smokey and the Bandit fans, or
I have known people that are, but I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the first couple each once, and that's
they're the kind of movies that, like, if I'm doing something else late at night, if I'm playing around on the computer or doing whatever,
right.
and you run across it on cable, it's great background noise because you don't really have to pay attention. Both the Smokey and the Bandit movies and the Cannonball Run movies, they're filler almost.
Right. I totally disagree. Oh. When it comes to Cannonball Run, I'm going to sit down and watch Cannonball Run.
See, I don't know what's the Smokey and the Bandit. I guess what's the difference? They feel like the same thing.
Dom DeLuise,
yeah,
pretty much,
or Buford T. Justice.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest Jackie Gleason fan.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know there's a huge cult following behind those movies, but it was never anything to me. Cannonball Run, on the other hand, was a big, I found that all of those movies hilarious.
Which one's the one? Is that the one they're getting beer, or which one's the one they're getting beer?
That's
400
Smokey and the Bandit
2,
I think.
Okay,
2,
man. You think? It sounds to me like
Jerry Reed's driving a truck and he's singing "Eastbound and Down." And, I think that's 2.
Yeah, Cannonball. The Cannonball race was a race across the country for a prize,
right?
And it was always like a team of 2.
Yeah, I always wanted to do that. Those are real things you can still do. I would do that.
Yeah, I want to ride around with Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise,
I don't want to
so,
anyway.
But yeah, I mean,
Sally Field. And,
now I would ride with Sally Fields.
Oh, you're crazy. I would ride around with the Terry Bradshaw. No, I really do like those movies, and I still watch. Yeah, that may be my pick.
Okay.
Cannonball Run 2, Cannonball Run 2 specifically.
Okay, I don't know how many backers you're going to get on that specific pick.
Is 2 the one with Jamie Farr as the Arabian Sheik?
Yes,
yes. Some horribly miscast.
Of course he's going to say yes because he wants to drag you into this mess.
You want a girl? You can have one of my girls.
I couldn't take one of your girls.
Oh, you can.
All right, maybe just one to clear up my complexion.
So that's all he needed was if that's the one with Jamie Farr.
No, it's got the one with they've got Sammy Davis Jr. and
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin, yeah.
They got the Rat Pack in these movies.
Yes, they do. I think
he had a mortgage to pay, so
right. And Frank Sinatra does make an appearance in one of them. I'm gonna look it up.
Well, I'm gonna plead my case here shortly. My pick, just because I don't care so much about Burt Reynolds, but when it comes to my favorite movies, I don't want them messed with, and I Boogie Nights is in probably the top half of my top 100 movies of all time. I just love that movie, and he's great in it. And he never got it. He never understood that it was good. He didn't want to promote it. Mm-hmm. He was embarrassed, like won an award for it. He played Jack Horner. It's set in the porn industry in the late 70s, early 80s, and he was the director. Anyone that doesn't know that movie, look it up. Paul Thomas Anderson starred Marky Mark, which I'll forever call him, and
John C. Reilly.
It's got an amazing cast.
It does have amazing.
Julianne Moore,
Heather Graham,
all of them. William H. Macy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and Burt Reynolds does as good a job as anybody in there. He's just as a porn director who wants you to stay after. I'll throw the air quotes because you want to know how the story ends. And he doesn't want to use tape. He wants to use film, and that he just gives a fantastic performance. What he's given, and I love.
We get
that.
Marky Mark singing "You Got the Touch."
That's right.
Justin Brock. This is the best work we've ever done.
I mean, it's a real film, Jack.
It feels good.
You made it fly.
This is a film I want them to remember me by.
But he turned it down. He turned the roll down 7 times, he said, before he finally did it. He claimed years later he never watched it, but he also, I heard about him going to the premiere and he told Marky Mark, he said, let's pretend we like this, and Wahlberg was like, no, you don't understand. It's a good movie. He just didn't get it. He thought it was dirty. He thought it was going to make him give him a worse reputation than he already had.
Yeah.
And if he would have promoted it more, he might have won the Oscar.
Yeah, This movie definitely has a huge following behind it. I mean, I like it. It's fine. It's not one it's never at the top of my head, but I recognize how good it is. Yeah. As a whole.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why he kind of pulled away from the Boogie Nights thing is because the year before he had done Striptease, and he in Striptease he's sort of the slimy, lecherous. What was he, a senator or a representative or something?
Yeah.
And I don't think he came out of that movie looking as good and as important of a character, as important of an actor as he did when he finished Boogie Nights. I don't think Boogie Nights is nearly the hit that it was without Burt Reynolds. I mean, because everybody went, wait, Burt Reynolds, really? And then you got there and you're like, oh, wait a minute. He's actually, bringing the heat to this movie. He's really good in it for the character that he's playing.
Yeah, so. I think he just doesn't know the difference between those two movies.
Yeah.
There was so much more talent, Paul Thomas Anderson brought to that, and the writing and directing. It's a totally different class of movie. And to him, those roles, like you said, just both seem slimy. And he's like, that didn't work, so this won't work. And
it wasn't a role you thought Burt Reynolds at all. And he did make it work. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
It's great.
So what I'm trying to tell you, Eddie, is that it takes a lot of the good old American green stuff to make one of these things. You know what I mean? You've got your camera, you've got your film, you got your lights, you got your sound, you got your lab costs, you got your developing, you got your syncing, you got your editing. Before you turn around, you spent maybe $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 on a movie.
That's a lot of money.
But you're asking this. But if you make a good one, there's practically no end to how much money you can make.
Have you seen Jack's house?
No.
He will.
He'll see it.
You got maybe 15, 20 guys standing around just making sure that your lighting is right. But you can work out in the morning, you can work out at noon, you can work out at night. Doesn't matter. If you don't have those juices flowing down there in the Mr. Torpedo area in the fun zone.
Now, you were talking about that cast. I want to read off the cast that Cannonball ran too real quick.
I would expect no less.
This is good. Okay, so Burt Reynolds, of course, is the star of this movie. He wasn't necessarily the star. I mean, Marky Mark was the star of Boogie Nights, but he was the star of this. Just let me read names.
Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise. What a team. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Jamie Farr, Mary Lou Henner, Telly Savalas, and Shirley MacLaine. Susan Anton, Catherine Bach, Buster Brooks, Sid Caesar, Jackie Chan, Tim Conway, Tony Danza, Jack Elam, Richard Keel, Con Knotts, Ricardo Montalban, Jim Neighbors, Charles Nelson Riley, $9 million, Joe Theismann, Mel Tillis, weird, Abe Vigoda, Frank Sinatra,
and Catherine Bach, Daisy Duke herself in the Lambo, tight jumpsuit. Come on.
What have we become?
All right.
We didn't give enough. We gotta give a moment to Deliverance. Just because it's a classic movie, and I thought over the last day was thinking about this because I thought we might do it, and I ended up moving away from this movie just because he doesn't have an enormously great role in it. He plays Lewis. He's the ultimate outdoorsman basically, and he just ends up in such a totally different position in that movie, and I don't know. It's just not, and he didn't do a lot with it, and he's not as big a part of the movie as the poster. He's the guy on the poster, but it's a classic movie that I hate to see messed with either. But
sure, I mean that movie was what year was that?
72.
Okay, 72.
Yeah, I think same year as The Godfather.
Same year as The Godfather. Yeah. All right, so I will make my case with the full knowledge that I will be alone in this.
Okay.
Unless this is also Jordan's pick, which it very well might be.
Let's hear it.
So if I could assemble a cast that sounds like this: Burt Reynolds, Mary Lou Henner, Ossie Davis, Charles Durning, Michael Jeter, Hal Holbrook. Give me that cast. I almost don't care what they do.
I'm going through. I'm like, okay, Gator, Hooper.
Nope. 1990, we met Coach Wood Newton in a little town in Arkansas called Evening Shade. This was one of the staples of I think it was the CBS Monday night lineup.
My gosh,
he won an Emmy.
Forgot about this.
He
won an Emmy. Yeah. He was a retired football player who had moved back to his hometown, small town Arkansas, to become the high school football coach, and everyone else in town was insane. Mary Lou Henner was his wife, and she tried to keep him grounded, but her parents were there, and they were all crazy. Charles Durning would show up and just be Charles Durning, which for me is enough because I love Charles Durning. But other than Wood Newton, Burt Reynolds trying to keep the whole place from falling apart, that was really most of America's introduction to an actor named Michael Jeter. Michael Jeter was Herman Styles, and everything Herman Styles said was knockdown, drag-out funny. Michael Jeter went on to star in Fisher King, Green Mile, a number of other things. We lost him way too early. And Evening Shade only ran, I think, 4 seasons, but there were just some fantastic moments in that show. And that, for me, I loved Burt Reynolds in that show. He was the glue that kept that show together. And so I will probably end up voting for something else, but I got to stick a stake in the ground for Evening Shade.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't mention that though, because I remember watching that and enjoying them. I probably saw every sitcom there was in the
that's all we watched,
70s, 80s, 90s, and you can expect a podcast at some point. We're totally going to do the heck out of sitcoms. But yeah, I remember enjoying The Evening Shade, and you know, I can picture the outside of the house and stuff, and I just, you know, it's funny. I forgot all about Michael Jeter, and you're totally right. He was great on that, and I didn't know. I mean, I guess I should have known he had died. How long has he been gone?
Jeter passed 2003.
Yeah, I didn't even. You know, one of those things I just totally forgot about him. But he was great, and Green Mile and all that. You know. But anyway, yeah, Evening Shade was great.
Yep.
So, what do you think, Cliff? You got anything else to say about Cannonball Run? Tell us.
Well, I really just wanted to get out there about Cannonball Run. That everybody should go watch that. It's actually not going to be my pick, but
oh my God.
I do love it.
Okay.
But there is one movie I watched from this era of Burt Reynolds that is going to be my pick. 1983 Stroker Ace.
Stroker Ace. I forgot all about that. Yep, I remember seeing that.
So this was a NASCAR movie before NASCAR was, you know, at its prime, where he plays this, you know, cocky driver, and Jim Nabors, Lonnie Anderson, Ned Beatty again, and Bubba Smith, and then there were like a whole bunch of NASCAR drivers in it: Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty from the time, Neil Bonnet, Kyle Petty, Kel Yarborough, people like that, if you're familiar with NASCAR.
Ever since Boatburn, Stroker Ace hated only one thing: second place. Now he's the best there is.
Lean out a little bit further, will you? I'm going to make a turn.
And if you don't know why, just ask him.
It's part of the wonderfulness of me.
He's a sporting man.
You either crash or win. And I like that.
A ladies' man.
I think it's important that you be here for this. I'll just do that and just pull that right off of there, and you'll be able to...
A man's man.
Why don't you drive a Clyde Torkel Chicken Pit Special?
And the fastest chicken in the South.
You think it's easy driving?
But this was a movie we watched a lot. It seemed to be on television a lot when I was a kid. And then it's just about this, you know, jerk of a driver who gets into a sponsorship with Clyde Torkel. And he has to drive for the chicken pit. The fastest chicken. What was it? The fastest chicken in the South. And it's just a comedy movie, just one of those nostalgia trips for me that I do love, along with Cannonball Run. But
Roger Ebert called it a lightweight, bubble-headed summer movie.
But if I think Burt Reynolds, those are the two roles that I associate with him. So I'm going to go with Stroker Ace.
Oh, fastest chicken in the West.
Fastest chicken in the South.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
you say so. Okay. Well, my vote is for Boogie Nights, of course.
Okay.
Jack Horner.
Yeah, I think realistically, I would have to go with Boogie Nights as well. Just that. I love Burt Reynolds in that movie. The movie itself is one of the best movies I've seen. And you know, going with Seth's logic, you'd hate to mess that up.
Yes, that's
in
great.
our
Seth logic
fantasy
is the best
world
logic.
Just keep feeding it to him. That's great.
I know.
Just keep feeding
hey, I'm
it.
trying to get invited back, so you know, anything I can do.
He once I threw out there about this sitcom show. He's like, "Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I want to do that.
I might want to be involved in that."
What was Jordan's vote?
Jordan's is irrelevant. I think 2-1 here. It's not Stroker Ace.
Oh, come on! I was waiting. I was hoping I was going to pull it out there.
Unless he also picked Evening Shade, and I just screwed myself out of having
great.
that pick.
You'll never know. No, Jordan also picked Boogie Nights.
Okay, I figured he would.
So,
yeah.
In the annals of Ka-Pow history, Jack Horner of Boogie Nights is the only thing that Burt Reynolds ever did, thank God.
He'll always be Turd Ferguson to me.
My name is Jack.
Eddie Adams.
Eddie Adams from Torrance.
Yep.
Jack Warner, filmmaker.
Really?
Yeah. I make adult films, exotic pictures.
Oh, I know who you are. I read about you in a magazine. Inside Amber, Amanda's Ride. You made those, right?
Right.
Those are great.
So now you know I'm not full of doggy doo-doo.
Yeah.
Want to come back to the table and, have a drink?
I'd love to, but I gotta work.
You have to work, get money, pay the rent.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I need money, but I don't pay rent. I still live at home.
How old are you, Eddie?
17.
17-year-old piece of gold.
Yeah, right.
Why don't you come back to the table? I got some people I like.
I mean, I do know you. I know who you are. I mean, I'd love to come back to your table for a drink, and obviously you're not full of,
dog.
Yeah, but I just couldn't walk out on Maurice. I'm really sorry.
I got a feeling beneath those jeans is something wonderful just waiting to get out.
We did it, guys.
Yeah, we did. That was interesting. I wasn't prepared for that, but I'm pretty happy I remembered Stroker Age.
Yeah, that's good. I had forgot. I did see that. We are going to get into some streaming before we get out of here, so let's do it.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are.
Cross the streams.
Okay.
Wow.
Lots of streaming out there this week.
Yes. I've been watching all kinds of stuff. And I know you guys have some stuff to talk about, so let me tell you some of the stuff I've been watching. I watched Castle Rock, the Stephen King-based Hulu show, which had its moments. Let me tell you, it's if you're a Stephen King fan, it's absolutely worth watching. Yes.
So you're back with Hulu?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But
update.
I had canceled Hulu when they dropped their Lock and Key series.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm not really watching anything else on there. I knew I'd get it back if they ever found something else for me to watch, which they did. I'd heard some good stuff about Castle Rock, so I started watching it. I think it was like episode 7 was particularly great. It's the standout episode of the season with Sissy Spacek. Just does a. Yeah. It's a really. People won't forget that episode. It's kind of a bottle episode, and so that especially I enjoyed. The series overall, I don't want to say that I didn't like it. I did enjoy it. It's so Stephen King. I love Stephen King, but sometimes it cannot end well. Some of his books and movies don't always have the best endings. And I don't know that I loved the way this ended, but they're always trying to set up another season, and I get it. So, Justin, if you ever watch it sometime, maybe we'll talk about it in the future. I think we need to do just a Stephen King episode sometime in the future and get all this stuff out there.
I think my plan, once we get back from vacation coming up here, is I'm going to pick up Hulu for like October and November.
That's the way to do it.
Because I've still never seen
11/22/63.
11/20, yeah, that one with the numbers.
Yes.
And the Castle Rock stuff. So that's on my list. I haven't had time recently because I've been watching some other stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, I get it, but yeah, it's worth watching. I also watched the Jack Ryan series.
Oh, with Jim.
With Jim Halpert as
Jim Halpert Saves the World.
Yes. Either of you see any of that?
No.
I got through the first 3 episodes. I had some reservations. I will admit I've never read any of the Tom Clancy books.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've seen all the movies at some point, just kind of picking them up here or there. So I didn't really have any foreknowledge of anything coming in. But I gotta say, I liked it. I'm through the first 3 episodes or so. I like John Krasinski. He's very approachable. Because the conceit here is, here's a guy he's an analyst. He's not a field agent, and all of a sudden he is a field agent. And is he ready for it? Is he equipped for all that sort of thing? And John Krasinski has that sort of quality about him that he always sort of looks befuddled. Like, he's really good at that. So when things kind of go sideways and things are going wrong, like, he doesn't quite look at the camera like he used to do in The Office, but you can tell he wants to just a little bit. Yeah. Wendell Pierce, he's in it. He's the boss. I thought he was brilliant. First couple of episodes, he's just a jerk to. Sorry, I keep wanting to say Jim. To Jack. But you kind of grow to understand why. So I'm
that's
pretty
an actual that's a Jack Ryan character, whatever character he was playing. I thought he did a great job. I thought I did think it started out better than where it got. I finished it. I enjoyed the fact that it was only 8 episodes. It didn't feel the need to go 10 or 13 episodes like some of these other series. So it's easy to finish. I will say, I really like Jim, but he just got angrier and angrier as the show went on. He was just like, it was unrealistically angry. It was like, you're the only person upset. No one else in the show is as upset. He's just mad. He's just mad to be mad, and it was a little over the top for me. But
I heard a little bit of feedback just online and stuff, and people seem to, in general, really be okay with it. Like
it was just fine. It wasn't bad, or we would have heard about it. It was totally fine. My biggest complaint is that the villain was not Michael Scarn.
Oh man. It's hard to top threat level midnight.
That's what I wanted. Jack Ryan, threat level midnight.
Yeah, the ending is he turns and he's got that gold face on.
Yeah. That's why I stuck through it to the end, but no. Alas, spoiler, it doesn't happen. I watched, I don't know if either of you guys watched the first season, or I watched the second season of Ozark on Netflix.
I haven't watched any of season 2 yet.
You saw the first season now?
Not the whole thing. Okay. I watched part of it. My wife had watched all of season 1, really liked it. So I was kind of anticipating her starting to watch it. And then I figured, well, I'll do the same thing. As she watches it, I'll try and hop on there. But I haven't gotten there yet.
It's basically like, it's a poor man's Breaking Bad. Basically, if you took Breaking Bad even further, and I like Jason Bateman, and the whole cast is good, and I enjoy the first season more than the second. The second season's 10-hour-long episodes. I mean, every episode is a full hour, so it's a commitment to watch. But it's good, and it's entertaining the whole time, and very easy to finish. But I've talked before. Jordan and I have talked about the beginning where they always, after the cold open, then they'll show the logo and have like 3 little drawings that you usually can't even make out what all 4 of them are, and it's like, oh, there's a boat on fire, or there's a car wrecked or something. At some point in the episode this is going to happen, and you're like watching for it, or you might not even pay one episode, you don't even notice the drawings and aren't looking for it, but they mess with you. You're like, oh, okay, well, there's a car wreck. Well, everybody's driving, everybody's driving around. There's all this, but anyway, I like that. But the biggest thing about this show is they made a conscious decision it's about strong women. Like the women in this cast kind of take over the show, and it's better. I mean, it is. They all do a fantastic job. Laura Linney, is the main, plays his wife in it, and
I always like her and everything she's in.
I can't think of the girl's name. She plays Ruth on the show, but she's like his deputy. She basically runs the strip club for him and stuff, and she was on The Americans, which is a fantastic show, but she does a great job. It held up. I was glad. I don't know if they pulled off duplicating the first season success, but I'm sure everybody watched the first season will finish the second season. So first thing I thought of, this is for strong women, this is the Moana for the older crowd here. so you guys as nieces can watch this when they get older.
Wow. Jordan mentioned a couple weeks ago he had watched Magic for Humans on Netflix.
I watched it also. I was going to talk about it.
So. All right. Well, I only watched the first maybe 20 minutes of episode 1. That was about all I could handle.
Have you seen this, Justin?
No, I'm not familiar with this at all.
Okay, the guy's name's Justin Willman, and he does, he's kind of funny. I feel like I've seen him before on something, but he's a magician, and he does street magic, but it's not like David Blaine. It's right. Not like I'm going to stick this fork in my arm. It's it's more like I'm going to. He does just illusions. And
it's more clever than
Okay.
Like he'll have one of the. Or I think it was probably in the first episode where he was like, oh, those guys, ultralight backpackers who say they've got everything in a backpack, a go bag or whatever, anything they need. And he's walking around asking people what they would need if they had to go, what they'd put in their backpack. And anything they asked for, basically, he would pull out of his backpack, and to ridiculous measures, of course, a coffee maker, hot coffee, pours him a cup, he just like, I don't know how he's doing this stuff. The detriment to this show is the fact that it is a show, and the way it's edited, it has the same effect that David Copperfield had when I was younger. I did not care about him making the Statue of Liberty disappear. I didn't know why anybody did, because it could totally just be faked. It's on TV. All they have to do is show a different angle, and that is the feel you get from the show. You see, you don't feel like the people are in on it,
right?
Because they don't seem like actors. They all give genuine responses. They're surprised when he pulls his wife out of his backpack. I mean, it's just you're watching it, but there's some sort of, obviously it's a trick. I get that, and I've listened to a podcast of a magician talking about it, and he acts like he's really doing these tricks, but it's not. The way it's filmed, he's not going to get credit for it. It looks like it's TV magic.
Well, he was doing the one with the balloons and the cell phone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
the best one, the one that has become the meme, that's all across the internet right now, is he makes this guy think that he's invisible. He convinces a guy that he is invisible, and it's fantastic. And now people are, he shows you how he does it. This is the one time that. This doesn't help him any either. Yeah. First off, for trying to not prove that the audience is in on it, because he literally takes an audience and lets them in on the joke, all to convince this guy that he's invisible. So people are doing that. I keep seeing memes that people like scaring the hell out of their kids. These kids will just start screaming and crying because they think they've turned invisible. And
I wonder if we could do that at the White House.
Oh, that would be awesome. But if you see the preview for this show, it's that apparently there was a test. I always heard of it with donuts, but apparently there's a test with marshmallows. Like you set a kid in a room, and you put a marshmallow on a plate in front of them, and tell them if they don't eat it, they can have 2 marshmallows when you get back. And he does that to these kids. And he said, and right before he leaves the room, he says, "There's a cup there. If you just can't stand looking at that marshmallow, put the cup over it."
Yeah, which they all do.
Yeah, they all sit there for a while, and they can't stand looking at it. It's too tempting, so they put the cup over it, and then they got to see the marshmallow again. When they pick the cup up, the marshmallow's gone. And who knows how he does it or what's happening, but it the best thing is he walks back in the room, and the kid is like. Screaming, crying because he knows that they're going to think he ate this damn marshmallow. It's like, I didn't eat it. It's just gone. It's like, I made a kid cry.
If it's psychological warfare on children, I may have to pick this up and watch it now. So.
Hell yeah, it's definitely worth watching, as you say, in the background. That's why I burnt through it. Like when it came on Netflix, I watched it and I just watched all 6 episodes or whatever right in a row because I love that kind of stuff anyway. So it's definitely worth watching that. It was crazy. But something I just watched an episode of today, right before you got here, Cliff, because it just hit Hulu today, was The First. And it's a series, I think Beau Willimon, who did House of Cards, might be producing it, but it's got Sean Penn. And it's about it's just set in the near future, I'd say like a decade from now. I don't know specifically what year it's set in, but technology has just moved slightly ahead. It's just Alexa on acid, basically. We're all, everything's voice automated things. But the whole thing is about sending people to Mars. Who's going to be the first to Mars. And but it's not really what I thought it was going to be. Probably to the better. Like, it seems like it's not somber. It's not about actually going to Mars. It's about the people involved in it and just the world in general, the universe and things like that, and everyone's problems that in the cast and stuff. I was really impressed by the first episode, and I'm excited to watch the rest of it. It seems, but it's, I mean, the music is great, but it's not a feel good show by any stretch. But I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of that series. What have you guys been watching on streaming?
Last thing I watched, and I'm not 100% sure how old this is, but they did a documentary, obviously with the success of Glow on Netflix. A lot of folks are trying to cash in on that. So they did a documentary where they actually assembled the original actors and actresses who were the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, and they did a whole documentary with them and sort of where are they now, and how accurate is the series, and how did Glow come together originally, and what you really find out is it's pretty much just as crazy in real life as it is on the Netflix show. Obviously they tweaked the Mark Maron character a little bit to make that guy sound more like Mark Maron, but for the most part, it was all sort of accidental. Yeah. Like the right guy saw them the right night, and all of a sudden they're in Vegas, and then all of a sudden they're in syndication, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere. So it's been really, really entertaining. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. I keep grabbing 15-20 minute chunks of it.
It came out.
That was really good.
It came out right about with season 1 of Glow, because I remember watching it, and it was a good documentary. They followed mostly the key characters from the show and the ladies, and they had talking head interviews with all of them, and it's kind of touching. They kind of focus on the one lady that played Mount Fiji, I think.
Yeah.
And of course she has a character based in the new show. But they kind of focused on where she is now and how important that role was for her and her life, and they have a big reunion at the end, and they all get back together. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they actually lived in Vegas at like a crummy hotel, and they had all these rules they had to follow, and what they were allowed to do and how late they were allowed to stay out, and if you could imagine in Las Vegas in the 80s, like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I watched Glow when it was on TV in the 80s. I mean, it made it on. I don't know whether WTAP had it on at like 2:00 in the morning on Friday night.
Yeah, I remember it was on real late at night.
And it was like, there was like episode 8 or something of season 2, the one that everybody hated, where they just did a Glow episode with all the little skits and everything. Those, like, I remember seeing stuff like that. It was goofy. It was like SNL on acid. It made no sense. It was completely over the top, but it brought back a lot of memories, and that was one of my favorite episodes of the season. I understand that a whole lot of, like, the internet hated it, which is that's what the internet is there for. But yeah, I really liked it. It really brought back some fuzzy memories of 2:00 in the morning, holed up watching garbage television.
Yeah, I was watching blurry Skinamax at that hour.
Some of my other streaming stuff. This may just be for me, but I was really excited. I read that Netflix is picking up a 10-episode third season of Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. He's the president, and everyone else gets killed, and so he becomes the leftover president, and there's intrigue. Everyone gets shot. It's completely campy. I like the show. I think there's some really good performances in it.
I think I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes of the first season.
Yeah, ABC kind of didn't know what to do with it, so they killed it off, and Netflix picked it back up. Netflix also is picking back up the second season of End of the Bleeping World, which is the 2 nihilistic British kids who go on a tear, and there's a murder, and It's really fantastic. The kid in it, Alex Lawther, is, if I ever need a British kid to stare off into space moodily, he's my go-to guy. He was Imitation Game. He was also in one of the Christopher Robin movies. He was the when Christopher Robin grew up and joined the army. He played.
Did you watch Black Mirror? He's in an episode of that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, there's a really crazy episode that he is in that is good. You should check it out. He's fantastic.
And I just saw the trailer on Amazon Prime a couple of weeks from now, third season of Man in the High Castle, the Philip K. Dick, as is everything. It's based on a Philip K. Dick book, where the U.S. lost World War II. So the entire East Coast and most of the Midwest is under the control of the Reich, and the whole West Coast is under the control of the Empire of Japan. And as always, there's a safe zone in the Rockies, because there always is a safe zone.
Yeah, I did see. I think I saw the trailer for this maybe today.
Yeah, I remember. I remember watching like the first episode a couple years ago, and I just never watched any more of it. So many things to watch.
Yeah, they've said that so the first season, you're just sort of establishing the world as it is. And I, for a history geek like me, I was always been impressed with, they didn't slow down to make sure that everybody understood what was happening. They just sort of went ahead with it. The story is centered mostly in San Francisco, and as the West Coast is now under the control of the Japanese, Eastern customs have begun filtering their way into, quote unquote, American life. And there's just some really subtle things that are really fun to pick out. At the end of season 2, we sort of started exploring the alternate universes. The conceit is, yes, we lost the war, but somehow there are these newsreels that people keep finding of the fall of the Reich and sort of history as we know it in our timeline or in our particular area of the multiverse. And one of the characters figures out a way to sort of move back and forth between these parallel dimensions. And the showrunners have said that they think that season 3 is going to focus a little bit more on that sort of supernatural aspect of things and a little bit more jumping between worlds. It's done really well, so I'm really looking forward to season 3. So I think that's comes out early October, I think. So, and the trailer's fantastic if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out.
I watched Netflix. I watched the first episode of Paradise PD, which is a new animated show, very Brickleberry from Comedy Central.
It was like, what kind of adjective is that? It is so Brickleberry.
It is so Brickleberry. It's very vulgar.
Oh, okay.
And the humor isn't awful. For me, I don't normally watch a lot of that stuff, but it was fine the first episode. I'm sure it'll find an audience on Netflix. And then I also watched season 2 of Iron Fist. I just finished, and happy to say it's better than season 1.
Okay.
It's no Luke Cage, but I liked it for the most part. It's very heavy on Danny Rand and his relationship with Colleen Wing. It's got a good dose of Misty Knight, who, if they ever decide to not do any more Iron Fist seasons, they should definitely do a Misty Knight, because she is awesome. And then the villain, it's got Alice Eve. She is Typhoid Mary, who was traditionally a Daredevil villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's fine. It's
good enough.
It's good enough. The big thing I determined is it's better than season 1, and Finn Jones as Danny Rand is much better as a supporting character than he is the central character. Like that episode he did with on Luke Cage, season 2. I love that episode. I love Danny Rand in that episode. They play off each other so well, but just to be him, you find you're paying more attention to everybody else in the show than you are Finn Jones. So,
yeah, I might catch up with some of those sometime. I don't know.
I thought season 2 was more.
I heard 2 was better.
Yeah, it's better. It's more Iron Fisty. Like season 1.
This episode will be called Fisty Brickleberry.
Season 1 was just so out there, and I had trouble following all the characters and who was against who and who was friends and buddies, and it didn't do much for me. Season 2 is much simpler and better.
Cool. The last thing I had for streaming was, are you guys? I mean, like we were saying before, I grew up on all these sitcoms, as I'm sure you guys did too. What about game shows? Did you watch a lot of game shows, or any, I just remember, I remember watching like all of that stuff. Just everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
whammies.
Yeah,
everything. But anyway, there's a documentary on Hulu called Perfect Bid: The Contestant That Knew Too Much, and it's a Price is Right documentary that's really good. It's got some interviews with Bob Barker and a little bit of Drew Carey towards the end, but it's about this contestant named Theodore in the 80s. He was just obsessed with Price is Right. He created a computer program he made, which he had entered the prices. He just realized that they were just using the same products over and over. Granted, there was still hundreds and hundreds of products and prices, but he would play this computer program, and in a certain amount, in just a couple hours, he could see every product, every price, and he just would have everything memorized. And he eventually went, to some tapings. I think all in all, maybe 30 tapings and stuff. And he tried to get on, but he would like sit in the audience and yell, they always,
I remember.
They always turn around to the audience
Yeah.
for suggestions, and he's like yelling the exact price, and he got some people to win, a bunch of stuff, and
they never caught on.
Well, yeah. Bob talked to him. He would call him out and stuff. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it because it's really good, but you should check it out if you're any fan of all those game shows, daytime game shows. This is really good to just see some of the inner workings, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and him talking about it and just the way he does, just a nice guy, and just how his journey with The Price is Right. I loved watching all this stuff. Freaking, of course, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are still around, but there was a time when they were just constant game shows on. So I would like to count down some game shows sometime.
Yeah, there's also a story about a guy who taped just hundreds of hours of Press Your Luck and literally memorized the pattern of the whammies. And I don't know how he did it, but he went on the show and just having memorized the pattern, he would never hit a whammy ever. It just racked up, tens of thousands of dollars in valuable cash and prizes. So I think they eventually caught on and yelled at the guy, but I don't remember the whole story about that. They didn't make a documentary about him yet, so
that's coming. Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys had some streaming news that you were going to talk about.
Yeah. So as of now, DC has launched their new streaming service. People are signed up and taking advantage of it. I haven't heard a lot other than it looks really cool. They don't have any of the original programming out. I've seen screenshots, a lot of stuff from Titans. This past week, they released the first screenshot of the Dick Grayson character dressed as Robin meeting the new Jason Todd Robin together, which that's I can go for that. I had a lot of doubts about this show going into it from that trailer we saw that everybody poo-pooed, but I thought, well, that's interesting and something we haven't seen on television before. So there is that. I'm hearing good things about the amount of digital comics they've made available. It's not everything we knew it wouldn't be, but there is a wide variety of from Golden Age stuff to modern age stuff, New 52, all that good DC stuff, and some runs I've heard some mixed things about, some runs they might have half the issues out on available with the subscription. Might be 30 issues. Other things it might be one. So I don't know if that's just there's one now and they're going to release more as it goes, or it's a big ploy to here's a free issue or an issue with your subscription. Now go out to your comic book store and get the rest. I don't know, but they've got from what some of the older shows are up and running now. Not a lot of content yet, but overall as a first go around this week, I've heard a lot of positive stuff.
Do we know? Are they also pulling in some of those some of the content from the DC television shows? I'm thinking Supergirl, Arrow, that sort of thing, or are they focusing more on the animated stuff right now?
Well, they do have some animated movies out with it. Not a lot, not everything yet. I do know things like the Flash series and the old Superboy series from, I think, the late 80s. That is out, which a lot of people haven't seen. It's available now. So I think, it's more important that it's up and running right now, and they are providing something before they get into the Titans and Doom Patrol and Swamp Thing and all that stuff. I know they've made some big casting announcements. We had our first still picture of Robot Man from Doom Patrol, and he looked pretty comic accurate. I was a bit surprised. I didn't think it would. I thought it was going to be cheesy and they DC all over it, but so far so good, I guess.
I just want to make sure our listeners who have picked up the second half of the top 10 animated have the ability to go out and pick up Mask of the Phantasm if they want to be a completist,
yes.
And make sure they see all of the movies that were on our list.
I watched that right after we
did that. What did you think about that?
I fell asleep.
You fell asleep. Wow. You didn't even get to see the ending to it.
No, I did. Okay. I just slept on and off through it. It was good.
Yeah.
But I was just tired. But I don't want that to be a reflection on it. I did enjoy it. I said, Nick, get out of here. We're going to watch something. Jordan really sold it to me. But yeah, we enjoyed it.
I automatically assume that's what happens when we release a top 10 episode. Everybody takes notes and they're like, anything they haven't heard of before, they rush out and and
what is this Lion King they're talking about?
All of a sudden, Secret of NIMH is trending. We really are right there at the forefront.
Why is everybody buying frisbees?
So DC's out. We've got Disney coming soon. We think we have a name for that service.
Yeah, they announced, and so again, somehow Cliff and I have steered this podcast back to the world of Disney, which no one should be surprised. Disney has announced Disney Play. No one's really sure if that's the name that's going to stick forever, but it is a direct-to-consumer streaming platform that is going to house a ton of the Disney family of content. So
why not the Vault?
I don't know if they have keys to the Vault. There's a lot of people that have to approve something going or coming out of the Vault.
That just seems like the perfect name.
Yeah,
that would work actually. I'm sure somebody is angling for that on the internet. So it sounds fairly straightforward. Disney owns a lot of content, and they're going to put it out on their own thing, and they're going to charge you for it. But I was doing some reading on it today, and there are a lot of people who think Disney is the big hitter right now. I read one statistic that for theatrical releases in 2017, Disney-owned properties amounted to 21% of all ticket sales in America in 2017. And in 2018, it's over it's almost a third. It's like 32% of every movie ticket that have been sold in America this year is for a Disney property. So anything Disney does affects everybody else.
Except for Seth.
Exactly.
I want Disney. Marvel's Disney. All that stuff.
So it's Marvel. It's Lucasfilm. It's
you absolutely
Pixar.
see that. Like you're saying, when any one of those, when Disney changes a date, if Star Wars changes a date, anything like that, I love to watch all the dates shuffle. Everything that already had a date no longer is on that date.
The ripples go right out. So at some point in 2019, they're going to launch this service. And not only is it going to potentially change the way that everybody else does things, but in reading some of the research, this is a huge risk for Disney. It doesn't sound like it. Disney owns a ton of content and is acquiring more even as we speak with the acquisition of 20th Century Fox and that whole film library and all of those sorts of things. But for every piece of content that they take off of Netflix, they lose a little bit of that licensing money.
Yeah.
And if the only way that you're going to be able to get this Disney content is through this new Disney service, the fewer people that sign up, the less money Disney made. I've seen estimates that the loss of revenue the first year from what they would expect to make could be as high as $2 billion. That's a lot of money to make up at $7 or $8 a month, because Bob Iger has said on a couple of occasions that right now, even as much stuff as they own, like they can't pull the original Star Wars movies off because there's a licensing deal with
Turner.
I think TBS, Turner, and because that's why those original Star Wars movies are on TV all the time. So they can't just yoink them back and stick them on this Disney platform because somebody else has the rights for some period of time.
And as a stockholder,
exactly, my share is I'm very angry. But so this is a huge risk for the Disney company. Because Iger has said, he's like, we don't have enough content right now to charge the kind of money that a Netflix does. So it's not going to be $8 or $9 or $10 a month. It's maybe going to be $6 or $7 a month. Yep. So and that over a million or 2 or 3 million subscribers, you're talking real money.
Yeah, they're really going to, in order to make this be what they want it to be, they're really going to have to take some market share from Netflix.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be an easy thing to do.
Like he's saying, a lot of people think this is just free money for Disney, that they're just going to start this channel. Whoever signs up is gravy. Well, like he said, that's not true because they have all this stuff on other platforms. Yeah. But what I agree, they're going to start out at a very low price, get everybody signed up for it, happy with the content they're getting.
Yeah.
And then as they're able to expand content and raise the price, slowly they will suck this away and be able to build up. Disney has a ton of money. I'm not too worried about Disney, right?
I'm of course excited about the service, but two big things I want to see on it. Disney Afternoon from the late 80s and early 90s, those series, Darkwing and of course DuckTales and
Don't Do It,
Gummy Bears and all of that.
Right.
Okay. The other thing I want to see are live action movies. Movies I grew up with that I can't find anywhere anymore.
Like what?
Flight of the Navigator, for instance. That would be my kids. I'd love to sit down with my kids and be able to show them, Black Hole and Flight of the Navigator. And
Black Hole.
I
saw that at the drive-in. It was a double feature with Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
I remember all the kids sat outside on lawn chairs. Sorry, this is taking me back. Sat outside on the lawn chairs and the blankets, and we watched Sleeping Beauty, and we had my uncle had driven his Scout. And the adults were in it, and then when the Black Hole started, they all got out and we got in there, and I remember falling asleep during the Black Hole.
Yeah, but stuff like that, the Apple Dumpling Gang. Don
Knotts,
Tim
Conway.
The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, all that stuff. Great Disney content
everything Fred McMurray did.
Yes.
The Shaggy DA.
Disney legend.
Yeah, and Fred...
Double indemnity.
You give me enough Fred McMurray and...
You just want to be able to sit down with your kids and watch
Kurt
Double
Russell
Indemnity.
and, all these great actors that from these live-action movies that
Is
exist.
Old Yeller
but
Disney? Is that old?
What's that?
Is Old Yeller Disney?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, those are two things that, if they do them, that would suck me in immediately. Here, take my money.
Stop saying that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I'm curious to see what they do. And at that price, that's the right way to do it. Because I'm the person that's not going to get it for much money. Yeah. But if you're going to have some sort of Star Wars series and it's $6, I'll do it. You'll get me. And then as long as you keep the content coming, I'll never notice that debit that comes out every month.
Right.
Yeah.
Just stay away from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans.
Don't push that, and then I'll know you don't have anything.
Right.
I got to tell you, I just finished off this last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and everything Jordan said about it was right. Everything leading up to that last episode was
horrible
noise.
So
it was fine.
So
the last episode was amazing.
Can I just watch the last episode? Will I know what mean as much?
Here's the thing: the world's in danger.
Okay, I got it. My setup.
Phil Coulson shows up, makes some snarky remarks, and I think a savvy watcher is going to be able to pick up on almost everything.
Right. Yeah.
So you could probably either watch the last one or maybe the last two.
Yeah. Where can I watch this?
That's on Netflix now.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is. Okay, good. I've thought about it a couple times. Because I don't like the show, but everybody has said the last episode's good. So.
And they clearly wrote it as a series finale, and then went, "Oh crap, we got picked up for another year. What do we do now?"
Right. Yeah. All right, I think we did it.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else except I'm gonna do a minute and a half on Big Brother. This is our
Oh, I heard some Big Brother stuff.
Okay,
today.
what'd you hear? I want to hear what Cliff has heard about Big
Just
Brother.
that the host. What's her name?
Julie Chen.
Julie
Chen Moonves.
Yes, that's what I heard. Yeah,
that was great. She has always went by Julie Chen. Of course, she's married to Les Moonves, who's got all this. He runs CBS, or did.
He did.
He's got these allegations, and whatever, he denies them. Whatever. She's standing by her man. But she just. It was with such sass last night when she signed off. This is Julie Chen Moonves, and just go for it, Anyway, just for anybody that's watching Big Brother, this week was the double eviction, which is usually the most exciting episode of the season. Sometimes they have two of them in a season, but this was it could go either way. This had been a really good season, and then all of a sudden. They made a poor choice to bring somebody back that was a waste of time, and they just went right back out of the house, and it was whatever. But there was a big blind side in the double eviction, so it was still a good episode. But I just had a couple things to say about it. One, this is one of the best alliances that has ever been made in any of the seasons. They started at the beginning, level 6, and they've been together till the end. They had to cut a couple people along the way, but really a core 4 of them stayed together the whole season until this double eviction. They got rid of Brett, was his name, in a blindside. But a lot of people are giving this Casey a lot of credit. She's winning a lot of competitions, but I just want to call her out as far as people are giving her too much credit based on results. They got to think how many people have played this show and thought, I'll be part of a team, we'll win competitions, as long as we stick together, we'll win. Yay, let's go. Well, everybody does that, and 90% of them lose. You have to be able to lie to everybody also, and she doesn't have any of those skills. So just because her team is doing good and the guy running the team is super smart, don't give her too much credit. And also the fact that their team has won so many competitions. The last time someone won that wasn't one of the 3 in that group was like weeks and weeks ago, and they voted out one of their own people. So I did think the difference between this, I had said they had their first celebrity Big Brother earlier this year, and they kind of proved that you could do the show in just 3 weeks. You don't have to have 3 months.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting, and they'll do that again. I'm sure they'll do celebrity. Although Big Brother has not been picked up for next year, and this is the latest they've ever went, and the ratings are actually really good. So I don't know what, and this whole thing with Julie Chen, who knows what's going to happen. Not that they have to stay on CBS.
Right, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. It won't go away forever. Someone else will pick it up. It gets ratings. But what I was going to say was, as good as Celebrity Big Brother was, and yes, they could do like an All-Stars in 3 weeks or something, but what the summer show has that the others don't is proven by the fact over 3 months you become actual friends with these people. You almost a family. And like a couple nights ago, the showmance, the couple that have kind of gotten together and kind of been working together behind the scenes, they actually told each other they love each other the other night, and you know in a very believable way. And you don't get that in 3 weeks, so to set up relationships over a summer where you're with someone 24 hours a day, it's it's like dating for a year. When you don't ever go do anything with anybody else, you're always with them, so it's believable that you get into this strong relationship. And then you have to possibly vote them out or send them home in order for you to win, and it's happened on other seasons in different countries. So that's where a lot of the drama comes from. I'm curious. That's kind of what we're holding on to in these last few weeks of this good season that got a little stale lately. At least there's a chance that, Tyler, the guy that should win, has been saying behind the scenes that he had planned to vote her out. And then a couple nights ago he told her he loved her. So if he still votes her out, he definitely deserves to win.
Wow.
So for anybody watching, it is one of the better seasons, and I'm excited to see how it wraps up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we did it.
Yeah, another one down. 120. That's hard to believe.
Oh, is
this is 120.
Well,
woo.
What do you know?
How about that?
How many were? That's at least 119, probably with Jordan, maybe on
it. Broke the streak.
Yeah.
Oh, so with that, you're probably already listening to us. We certainly hope so, but you can find us on iTunes if you like us. If you liked our big animated show, leave us a review, 5 stars. You can find us on Google Play, Facebook, on the Twitter at the Ka-Pow Podcast, and all that good stuff.
All right. Thanks for coming, Justin.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We will have you again. You
always fun. Always
do a great
fun.
Job. And
you keep bringing those notes.
That's right. So
yeah, so hopefully Jordan went out and with his
we'll hear
So
all
Pro
about,
buddies,
yeah.
and
we'll hear all about Mothra and
saw the Mothman and Mothra and Bigfoot and all that stuff.
It'll be great. So for Justin and Cliff, I'm Fisty Brickleberry. Thanks for listening. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.
So these episodes aren't they're not too bad to edit. They don't take me all that long.
Yeah.
It's just the clip shows when we get into
the thing I really enjoy the most, and it's such, I know it's not as hard as it works out to sound for this particular thing, but I like when you will have a whole song or something playing, or a whole clip, and where you mention a line, and that line is played, well, all you do is line that up there and start it way back. So just that it comes and lines up perfectly at that moment is so funny.
Believe it or not, sometimes they're happy accidents.
I've done things like that before too. I've done things like that before too. But
If we're ripping on the editing, I do have one complaint about part 2. And this is the Disney nerd. When we were talking about Finding Nemo, you dropped in the music.
I put
Big
that
Blue
in there
World.
just for you because nobody else would have picked it up.
Because that works.
Big Blue World.
Yeah,
it's
Big
from
Blue
the
World's
musical.
It's from the stage musical at Epcot and the ride at, or the stage musical at Animal Kingdom and the ride at Epcot. It's not in the movie at all. And I'm sitting there because I'm singing along to it. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not in the movie.
That son of a bitch.
I must register a complaint.
Yeah, I totally put that in there just for us because nobody else that listens to it will pick that up at all. They'll just, it'll never acknowledge that.
I don't know. I feel like I noticed that. I feel like I noticed somebody singing that wasn't like, I don't remember that, right? You know, but
it was.
But that's that stuff.
And I'm,
we got our outtakes.
oh, I love that.